Hi, bienvenidos. My name is Cara Lara, and I'm an Access Service Associate here at Poets House. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the space for tonight's latest installment in the Poet as Witness series, Central American Counterpoetics. Before we get started, I just wanted to share a few quick words about Poets House. For the unfamiliar, we are a library and literary event space dedicated to poetry, as the name suggests. We have over 80,000 volumes in our collection right now and are quickly growing. We also host a multitude of literary events, including workshops, seminars, and readings like the one you're at tonight. With the warmer weather, we're especially excited for some summer programming to ramp up. We've got a lot of exciting events coming up, most recently our Summer Nights block. If you don't know, Summer Nights is an event series that pairs poetry readings with music. There'll be dancing. It's a good time. It's across the street at Wagner Park, and that'll be June 5th with musical performance by Miriam El Haji, Kinsale Drake, and a few other readers. It's free to attend as well, so if you'd like to RSVP, you can do that on our website. Also, if you do enjoy tonight's program and want to stay informed on other events that we do, you can feel free to subscribe to our newsletter at our website, poetshouse.org, or also follow us on Instagram at poets_house. That being said, I'm going to move on to the program. This is very near and dear to my heart as a catrache. Okay. Within the already esoteric window of contemporary Latin American poetics, there lies one of the smallest, yet perhaps most significant epicenters for counterpoetics: Central America. A subregion of North America made up of only 7 countries, Central America stands as one of the most multi-ethnic, linguistically diverse regions of Latin America. Why then, when it comes to literary acknowledgments, is it too one of the most underrated? Coined originally by the Martinican theorist and poet Édouard Glissant in his 1981 work, Le discours antillais, the term counterpoetics, while fluid in its definitions over the years, best describes marginalized poetic practices that oppose imperial, teleological visions of history. In her book, Central American Counterpoetics, Diaspora and Rememory, which informed the conception of this program, scholar Karina Alma envisions counterpoetics as decolonial tools for studying the art, popular culture, and healing practices of Central America and the diaspora in the United States. Though often historiographically overlooked, Central American counterpoetics prove just as compelling as their juggernaut peers across Mexico and South America. They carry with them the bold currents of insurrectionism in the face of political repression, a championing of workers' rights, advocacy for land sovereignty, rejections of U.S. capitalism, and above all, stories of continued resistance and remembrance. Please join me in giving voice to only a few of these contemporaries working either within the region or within its diaspora. I want to welcome to the stage our first reader. Sheila Maldonado is the author of the poetry collections That's What You Get, Brooklyn Arts Press, and What Bedroom Solo. Her poems have appeared in Poetry, Bomb, and Hostos Review, and online at Poem a Day, House Party, and Asterisk Journal. She served as associate poetry editor for A Gathering of the Tribes magazine online, and has read and curated at the Met and Whitney Museums. She is a Creative Capital awardee as part of Desveladas, a visual writing collective. She teaches English for the City University of New York, was born in Brooklyn, raised in Coney Island, and is the daughter of Armando and Vilma of El Progreso, Lloro, Honduras. She lives in El Alto, Manhattan. Please welcome Sheila.
Thank you so much, Cara. That was awesome. It was really just a real honor to be part of this that I think is not really has much precedent, truthfully. Thank you everyone for being here. It's also awesome just to be in Poets House. I don't think I've ever read here. So many firsts to me. Also really honored to be here with Wingston. Just, yeah, awesome. Uda's like reading. Uda's just a co-conspirator in so many ways, and I'm like such a fan of all these people who are friends and colleagues, and of course Raquel and Bessie, who are all giants. Everyone's awesome, and we are part of many, like a large diaspora, not including, of course, the people in Central America. So many poets. So I know that there are a lot of people watching on Zoom. Gracias por estar aquí. Es un tremendo honor. They asked that if people had PowerPoints, and I was like, yes. So I made my life so difficult, but we're gonna deal with that. And it did help organize me a little, so I'm just gonna get to it. Oh, I did want to say, I dedicate this to all the hunger strikers at Delaney Hall. Fuck ICE. So let me get to it. I'll go to the first. Thank you. Mike is on the wheels, so I'm gonna bother him for that. Thank you. This is the first poem in the second book. That's What You Get. It came out 5 years ago, and it has haunted me the whole time. Showing Papers 2, long form blackout. For the brown dreamers and the black president who turned in their documents. New records may certify Sheila, child of Vilma, Brooklyn, yes, and Honduras kings. Rejoice, Mother City. The Street Father records the truth. And this is a blackout of the long form certificate. Nelly Rosario kind of dared me to do it. And it was after, the original scandal with Obama and, clown face president. So yeah, when he was demanding his birth certificate. He doesn't deserve shit, of course. Let's go to the next one. Thank you. Blood to the hospital. Mother, solitude, blood, hospital. Father, darkness, in the middle. Mother, night, spitting. Dad, dad, dad. Sangre al hospital. Madre en la soledad, escupiendo sangre. Soledad más madre en el hospital. Soledad más sola. No le hacen ni madre en el hospital donde murió padre. Dad, dad, dad. Madre en la oscuridad, al hospital de padre, en medio de la noche, sangre al hospital. Madre en la noche, al hospital de sangre, escupiendo padre en la oscuridad. Dad, dad, dad. Oh, what next? Yeah, I'm just gonna fly through things and lose you and bring you back and all the things. Temporary statement. I am not poignant. I am losing nuance. I beat you over the head. I am cliche. I am a caveman, cavewoman, a cave. I am not genteel or radical. I am pissed. I'm not always specific. I am beat. I am losing steam. I leave image with image and word with word. I take too many pictures. I'm literal as fuck. I bully my way through a text. I barrel my way through. That Neanderthal thing again. I resist understanding. I understand because I resist. I've forgotten how to break a line. The line breaks me. I use I too much. I do get that the I on the page is still not me. I do get that. I don't know if you get that. I don't know who I am in this time. I've lost a great love. I'm suffering a terrible leader. I don't know where to turn or who to be. I'm looking for my days to reacquire some rhythm. I can't be kind in the morning. I can't be kind. I am mourning. I miss touch. I miss conversations I had in the past. I miss the conversation I had with my past. It is leaving me. I don't mind erasing. I want to know who to address, though. I'm going to go to the next one. This is from the next book. God knows when it's going to happen. I'm hoping in like a couple of years. I've been with it for, I don't even know when. Since before the coup in Honduras. That's right before it, which is 2009. So it's taken many trajectories, but it's about a narrator obsessed with the ancient Maya. But Honduras always gets in the way. Something like that. Anyway. It's called Blood Letters for now. It's been Blood Letters for a while. And it's an amateur Mayanist field journal. But it might change to the title of this one. Anyway, this is called Heredero de Cero, which means heirs of zero. I've returned from the question, the motherland, a continually illegitimate relationship. I'm a pretend immigrant, afraid of coats and the cold, stunned by space and the sun, up in the face, landlocked behind the barbed wire of Mama's house. What did I do there? Scratch, twitch, stare. Wandered with a prima and her daughters. Was asked about the prima who should have been there. She left the world after her mama, mi tía, se fue. Nadie era nadie en esa casa. Only the men. It made my mama sick to see me leave into the hot night of her origins. I returned for the right to walk in the dark, like the black cat family that roamed our alley in the valley of Sula. If I woke up at a decent hour, I caught the colibri. Little brown red god came around 9, 10 a.m., humming into a tree of little red stems, never no names, a place of teeny overlooked gods. I drank tea at the white iron table another tia gave Mama. They got on so well. About their nests in the capital of slurs. Will I be the only bird to be about the tree? Last one flitting. Do we want me to be? Oh, and if my tía is watching, tía, deja de cortar el árbol. Que ya no llega ese pájaro. Pero me dijo mi mamá. Sí lo ve, tía. Yeah, next one. Strategic. I'm from the monitor in the middle of the Americas. I am a monitor in the middle of the Americas. I monitor the Americas. Screen American. A scream through a screen. I see unseen. I'm seen, obscene, a scene. I am a screen on a seam, a fault, a flaw, fluid, fixed, followed, forgotten, forgetting. Fall in the fault. I'm the monitor, the monster, the scream. Oh, the next one. This is Toque de Queda, Nueva York, June 2020. That was right when Black Lives Matter erupted and they locked down the city. Like for the first time, we had COVID and they didn't lock it down, but for Black Lives Matter, they locked it down. So, and it was a curfew week. Toque de Queda, Nueva York, June 2020. Beautiful curfew day. All of us will have the night taken from us. Don't ask me what Honduras is like again. There I lived through a revolution bougie-like too. We hid in our rooms, accepted house arrest. We watched the TV tell us how to make traditional dishes. We stayed away from the revoltosos. My mother was the state. All her words smacks. I wanted to go where all the tires were burning. She wanted me alive. Mad at her. Alive. Here I can move about. Walk. I know my way. I've been on my own in this city, in this apocalypse. I write apocalypse a lot. All I have ever written about. Blood memory of the end, turbulent with recognition. I talked to my mother on the phone, altered. Su hija revuelta, surviving lockdowns without her. I often turn to all that is wrong. She won't hear a rant. Have to remind myself, our speech must keep the peace. Can't blow my cover. This is the next one. Fruit survivor. Almost all the pictures are mine. Maybe there's like 2 that I probably should have credited on. Anyway. But yeah, pretty much everything. Fruit survivor. I've known all the survivors of the depths. Was raised by them. Put in my place by them. Happy Land survivor. Hurricane Fifi survivor. Hurricane Mitch survivor, Hurricane Eta Eyota survivor, double hurricane survivor, first coup in the 21st century in Latin America survivor, first coup in 20 years in Latin America survivor, Iran-Contra survivor, 80s counterinsurgency base survivor, secret Vietnam survivor, caravan survivor, soccer war survivor, 100 hours war survivor, banana plantation survivor, United Fruit, Standard Fruit, Guayamel Fruit survivor, every American president in the 20th and 21st century survivor, every Honduran president in the 20th and 21st century survivor, Northern Triangle survivors, murder capital of the world survivors, border cage child survivors, backward invisible forgotten erased survivor, always spoken of but never spoken to survivor, wouldn't speak to you anyway survivor, trauma is a joke survivor, slur survivor, slurvivor, serve survivor, not from here or there survivor, never enough survivor, no one knows who you are and when you tell them they don't believe you because it's not their idea of who you are survivor, no one really cares survivor, a survivor of surviving, a survivor of survivors. The next. Yeah, this is just sounds. Sonidos catrachos. Honduran sounds. Como dicen ese los Sanpedranos, how San Pedro Sulans say es. Ha pato palo hipote, ha pato palo hipote, ha pato palo hipote, ha pato palo hipote. Trabalengua de niña, childhood tongue twister. El burro pita y puja el burro. El burro pita y puja el burro. El burro pita y puja el burro. El burro puta y pija 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 el burro, no da. Cuando no te creen, when they don't believe you. Bah, 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 bah. That's it. That's the next one. This is like where the Maya start to come in. Or the ideas of them. Because their ideas are high level. Window on my part-time employer in the one building that was once 2. It's a whole convoluted thing. It's like a scribe imagining the temple, a modern day scribe. These are the temples. I'm writing to the building of writing that is continually giving us the boot. Writing alone can't hold it up. I want to say writing created it, but it might have just assisted. And yet writing is its own building. Writing extends the building. I'm from a long line of building extenders, a line that was broken. That line can be broken, it can be outlawed and driven out of town, the word finding refuge in the mountain, the mouth, the memory. It can be fired and replaced, a thread erased. It can't all be put down. It rises up, an ancestor told me. A few ancestors told me that. I will be an ancestor telling you to rise up, but as a present-day person, I tend to lay there. I've been thrust from the building of letters, syllables, characters. They're scattered and I lack the will to gather them. It is fine to lay among them. Let them scramble. Eventually, I will get up and put them together again. It won't be like I imagined. It will be. Immediate postscript. For a minute there, my keyboard stopped working. I was talking about letters and they wouldn't come. I did not lay calmly. It was not a calm. It was a panic. I wanted letters to come out and they wouldn't. I am wrong to say I can be so calm. I would fight for a while. I would fight to get back to the letter, to get back to the building, fight to make a new one. Next one. These pictures came out of a residency at Governor's Island. So at Governor's Island, it was easy to imagine the Maya Empire State. The rituals must be recorded. Oh, and thank you to Gabriel Garcia Roman, who helped me put this together. A Mexican American visual artist. The rituals must be recorded. The scholars tell me this is Lady Ka'abalshok wearing the fat, rounded, cross-like emblem of her lord, shield jaguar, on her huipil, her dress, the cloth. In this drawing of a 1,500-year-old doorway carving in what is now Mexico, she is looking up at the version of herself as a warrior goddess. The goddess version of her emerges from the mouth of a snake, made from the smoke of her blood, let from her tongue with a rope, the bloody rope and a cloth burning in a bowl before her. The vision serpent, smoke snake, Ga'awil. A scholar told me it is white-boned. What scholars tell you is subject to change. It is a ritual recorded upon the accession of Shield Jaguar to the throne. He is taking his place. The lady honors it with this vision right. The sculptor scribe honors it with this carving. The ritual must be recorded. We might never know its full meaning. I am mostly about the vision serpent because who wouldn't be? Look at it and its gaping maw. It has a double head. I used to think the warrior was part of the snake, but I wasn't looking well enough. The scholarship means looking closer and closer, re-seeing, getting a better version to work from, a sharper picture, a clearer drawing. I am here to get closer. How a vision is made, how an image is made, how writing is made from image, how a story is made from sight, how we've been telling this story for a long time. We've been doing this forever. How we were some of the first to do it. I say we because I think I'm these people on the wall, and I will believe I am their blood for as long as I bleed. My blood burning on a rope. In the smoke, I see them as me. I'm on bent knee, bent neck, in my huipil, looking up at the warrior goddess version of me. I bow backward before the spear I brandish. I'm delirious from the blood leaving my tongue. This is the last. You can play whenever. All I want is the books back. We're never going to get them back. They're just going to be made and burned. 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 Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to take a picture of you guys. Hold on. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Woo! Let's give it up one more time for Sheila. That was a gorgeous reading. I love the sonic element to it as well. Amazing. So we have our next two lovely readers joining in virtually. First, we're going to have Bessie Flores Saldivar, who describes themselves as an artist from Tegucigalpa. Bessie's debut book, Libertad, received the Purabel Pre-Honor, the Americas Award, the International Literacy Award, and was named a Best Book of 2024 by Kirkus Review, Publishers Weekly, Chicago Public Library, and others. Bessie lives in New Haven and Tegucigalpa. Please give it up for Bessie.
The first poem I'm reading, it's called A Mandarin. A mandarin is a mix between a lemon and a mandarin, and for the first decade of my life, I really didn't know that a different lemon existed, and this is about this tree that grows just right here in my backyard, a few feet from me right now. I crush your skin and grasps time like heartbeats. Your leak is all things bodily, the color of piss, the pressure of a slit carotid artery, the sweetness of a lover's seed. The mandarin, you don't make us wait for a time of the year. You've never known nudity. Because I'm getting older, I begin to care for your possibility. How do a mandarin and a lime have sex? How did she grow you? A gift from one of Alejandro's friends, dice mi abuela. Murder years ago while picking food up at Tony's Mar, that seafood place. Le mandarin, do you grieve? Can you imagine Alfredo, your planter, like I do, ordering pescado frito to baptize in the juice of you from his own backyard? Had he finished his plate, he too could have bathed in your lake, breathed in oil bubbles, floated on the bones of fish. Le mandarin, I'm sorry it has taken me this long to ask. My country is a garden of dead men's hands. This is neither here nor there, but once I saw the blood of 6 men gunned down, hosed out in front of the pupusa's place, not too far from our house, not too far from where your Alfredo was killed, not too far from anything. Tegucigalpa is a crumpled handkerchief. I'm trying to say there seems to be an understanding in the city about murdering men as they eat. What is more vulnerable than biting the work of your fingers? Le mandarin, I'm tired of my tongue pushing death around my mouth with every taste of you. Let's rid ourselves of this country and its rotting. Can a le mandarin and a watermelon have sex? Let's farm fruit orgies. Let's seed something new. All right, this next poem is called De Brazos Caídos. On June 19th of 2019, a section of the Honduran National Police declared itself a fallen arms, De Brazos Caídos, and joined civilians who were protesting police brutality and the narco dictatorship of Juan Orlando Hernandez. These cops fought each other and set fire to a few prisons, and Tegucigalpa celebrated. The traffic was stopped for hours. It was like revolution in our mouths. But 12 hours later, every single cop took the government payout, and June 20th was identical to June 18th. So it was just this one day where the cops revolted. And I was with my brother Emo at a boxing gym in the middle of the city. This poem is about that. We boxed for hours. Sweat clings to the end of my brother's hair like a hungry child to a mother's nipple. Fractured flesh of mandarins and salt water off our skin trailed the slopes of our jaws, rivers of citrusy soreness. Outside the dark gymnasium, echoes of fists learning hard leather still bounce in our eardrums, and the sun pulps our eyelids red. We blink it away to find a new Tegucigalpa. Blood-fleckled clouds of tear gas and flags tied to necks like mother's prayers. Our fragmented reality patched with phone calls and sirens, the national police have declared themselves de brazos caídos, of fallen arms. Their bones have jumped off their shoulder sockets and lie on our street naked of skin and muscle. We do the natural thing. Pick up a humorous to smash against the radius. Pa, 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 a beat for every syllable of revolution. Every time bones kiss in cruciform, someone's son has their breath whispered back. Bone ash bursts with every impact of our skeleton drumsticks, and we save it as sugar for tomorrow's coffee. Synovial fluid that once lubricated joints is now anti-scar ointment, seaming the split sun-baked souls of our mothers and the nation-shaped cavities of our father. Someone finds the missing muscle tissue and we peel the layers, give some to the children for modeling clay. They build us unpractical things with it, soccer balls and toy boats, monsters and pigeons. We hang it on the clotheslines with our underwear and bed sheets until it's dried too hard and becomes useless. We no longer have a need for things solid enough to hurt. Los policías, armless, waddle and call. This isn't about money. We want to stop killing our people. But we can't hear them over the murmur of terror lifting from shoulders. In 12 hours, Los Chepos will take the government payout and pick up their arms left and right, pair and glue gun hammers and radius, resettle them in their chambers. But we don't know that yet. So here's an ulna still attached to a radius. We split them apart. We want more. We want nothing. Just this. Thank you. This is called Ode to Blasting Reggaeton on Sunday mornings. Clothesline suspended, fresh laundry bodies reach for each other. Wind animated, flinching to the bark of a dog. Someone's father tries to slip in. Last night's beer slaps and sizzles his stomach walls with every sleepless turn on a mattress dented to the outline of his exhaustion. Someone's sermon begs to be heard. Every word undercut by static kiss, cheap speakers, stage whispering to the morning. Baby, la vida es un ciclo, y lo que no sirve yo no lo reciclo. The question of what is more holy than the sound of skin thrusting on skin, sweat, beats breaking individual impact and funneling out of pores again, forgetting their own second-old death again and again, is not answered in church or poetry, but in every shard of Daddy Yankee's voice ebbing a hand under a girl's skirt with every dale mami last night and asking her not to forget this morning. Tiene a todos los nenes locos y a todas las nenas locas, todos quieren besarle la boca. Like a mother enveloping her child's face in sunscreen, reggaeton is a layer for heat to sweat through, a crumb of club light glinting on the jaws of a flip phone, saving digits to the beat of gasolina. A fragment of dry want after a girl blessed the crotch for Setch's latest, the faded pearl of cum from last night, washed and hanging from the clothesline, aching in the wind, for skin like its own, for touch creased in the beat of songs not made for morning. Lo único es que sé que quiero con usted, quedarme contigo hasta el amanecer. This poem is about my boxing gym back in the US, which is run by, it's just Caribbean people there. And I call this poem Caribbean Heaven. It's my favorite place in the whole United States. What do you even know about life if you've never sweated the weight of your father and the pain of your mother at Karoo boxing? I mean the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7:30 a.m. class, when the windows dissolve Hamden, Connecticut under the breath of winter and our bodies are the only music that can keep us alive. I mean, Letty is 52 and from PR, she watches my form across the heavy bag and reminds me to keep my weight centered, to fucking move my head out of the way when I go to cross with my right. And Rashad from the Bahamas taught me how to do the butterfly, collapse my knees like wings the right way to reggae dance hall, and we never miss a chance to break into dance between the ring of the bell and the percussion of leather meeting leather, making meaning out of faith. Sometimes we do have to stop and watch Carol, speedback queen, disfigure the air with her fists, blend red and white into a single glimpse, like how a bird in flight becomes as much of color and escape, the tempo of her hands in a song that never got made. What do you even know about life if Dylan Carew himself, Olympic fighter, has never asked if you're pregnant in his thick Guyanese accent right before he jabs the mid into your stomach and reminds you to protect yourself? If the champ himself has never called you a champ and pretty girl and professor gangster and confessed a few months after that, at first he thought he might not be able to train you, thought you were too young, not 28, not something that has had to break already. If I had to believe in a country, I would believe in these walls, in the pivot and rise of our heel when we land the 2 of 1-2, in the swing of our hips when we uppercut in Wisin and Yandel's rakata, pulsing through the speakers, every beat time to the pace of our hook and slip. And I believe in protecting this face because it's true. I've always been proud of it, and you better watch my footwork. I've always been a tricky dancer. This is called I Wanted to Write a Full Poem. And I wrote it when I was living in Virginia, and Eta and Iota, the hurricanes Sheila mentioned, hit Honduras, and my whole family lives here. And I flew home a week after the second hurricane. So I wanted to write a full poem, and the epigraph is, and begin the faithful work of drowning by Ocean Vuong. How did the cupola of this acorn know the exact circumference its mouth must open to swallow whole the tip of my thumb? This is the closest I've come to holding the hand of time. 2 squirrels chase each other like minutes, becoming mirrors of themselves. I am in Virginia, and the trees are not the color of war, even when the comparison is as easy as picking up dry corpses of a leaf. But war is not orange fire, it's not blood red, not even yellow streams of fear tonguing their way down a boy's thigh, surrender to the same physics of this season. War is aftermath. In Honduras, 30 bridges collapse overnight after a few hours of rain delivers the reminder. Our home is set inside a drum. Pavement sinks mouthfuls of cars. Tire marks on teeth, reverse unbound from their paths, breaking promises they made to maps once, never. Children hang from the edge of tin roofs like long evening shadows clinging to toes. Their reflection on the muddied water, brushstrokes of a chewed red and blue flag. In a few days, the disappeared will be unburied from hardened mudslides to be buried again. We cut open our stomach lining just to gulp down what we find inside. On the phone, my mommy says it's just like last time. It's happening all over again. Which is what the grass hears every year here in Virginia, as the blue of the sky is erased with the skeletons of leaves. I ask if she's scared. She says, it's just like last time. It's happening all over again. A bullet of wind blows out the brains of another tree. I ask if it's scared. It's just like last time. It's happening all over again. How did my thumb knew to stop growing so it always fit inside the cupola of this acorn? If the next year swallows us whole, I was just trying to hold its hand. All right, and this is my last poem. It's called How to Go Home, and it's Tegucigalpa. First, pretend you don't need to. Act like you never left. You know exactly which Bad Bunny songs 102.5 FM plays on a loop, and where the song will skip when the car drops in one of those massive new potholes, remnants from the last rain. Yes, you've been to that new baleada spot, and fuck no, it can't compare to the ones you'd get at 2 a.m. outside the basketball court in Guanacaste from Doña Chuy. Onion breaths and alcohol sweat, and the flickering yellow street light revealing shine of grease on mouth corners, and the rips in the corner women's tights. The smell in the air, a new language you never had to learn. And if you never left, then you're still 19. You're still in love with that one woman everyone knows it's too old for you. The dead faces graffitied on the walls as familiar to you as the red freckle above her navel. You see them behind the curtains that are your eyelids before bed. You know their names and what their mom said on the radio the day the police killed them. Y los Napoleones bursting out of house walls don't make you feel bone shatter, weak-kneed. Even their violet and its violence fossilize into your visage. You're home because you're 19, and this is the best day ever. Puta, se fue la luz, Fair yells from her room that is still your room. The old appliances stop their humming, and you remember what silence is. Emo comes to find you and Fair, and you walk to La Pulperia, the three of you, and the lake's shaping under your armpits because it's noon in Tegucigalpa. And you get a family-sized bag of plantain chips and a 3-liter Coca-Cola, and you sit in the kitchen, just the three of you eating, and playing music on your phones and dancing, and it's not your fault you can't get anything else done, power's out. And a neighbor or someone's cousin said they called the energy company, and they said a truck or a bus hit some lines down in El Anillo, and it may take hours to figure it out, and it's the best day ever because you're here for it. Because you don't have to go back to the 7th line of this poem and stop halfway to text your brother and ask if there was any truth to those rumors years back about Doña Chuy's death. Pura paja, Emo texts back. She was just visiting her daughter back in su pueblo. You know how people talk. Yeah, you know how people talk. You know that when the microwave beeps on and the TV blinks back faces and the slow hum of the fridge returns, you know someone somewhere down the street will yell, "Volvió la luz," at the same time as Fair, and you are home. Thank you.
Thank you, Bessie, for those words. And ánimo a mi gente catracha. Your work was beautiful and cutting and topical. I'm gonna introduce our next reader. Pardon the technical difficulties. Mike, you're working so hard. I love you.
Hi, everyone.
I'm gonna introduce our next reader.
Raquel. It is my turn.
It is, yes. Born and raised in Los Angeles, the ancestral and unceded lands of the Tongva, Gabrielino, and Chumash people, Raquel Gutierrez is a critic, essayist, poet, performer, and educator. Gutierrez's first book, Brown Neon, Coffeehouse Press, was named as one of the best books of 2022 by The New Yorker, and listed in the best art books of 2022 by Hyperallergic. Brown Neon was a 2023 finalist for the Lambda Literary Prize for Best Lesbian Biography and Memoir, a 2023 finalist for the Community of Literary Magazines and Presses Firework in Creative Nonfiction, and a recipient of the Publishing Triangle Judy Gran Award for Lesbian Nonfiction. They are a recipient of the United States Artist Fellowship and the Foundation for Contemporary Arts Fellowship in Poetry. Their first poetry collection, Southwest Reconstruction, was published December 2nd, 2025 on Noemi. Gutierrez has lived on the unceded lands of the Tohono, O'odham, and Pascua Yaqui people since 2016. Please give it up for Raquel.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start now. I couldn't hear the introduction, and that's okay. Raquel Gutierrez here. Hello from Tucson, Arizona. I'm going to read a poem from my new poetry debut. It's a collection called Southwest Reconstruction, and this piece is called The University of El Camino Real. Built by our forebears and their forebears to be worn like skin, the legend metabolized into a theory of the drum. Collapse into the invitation from a long lost relative forged in the fires of the imaginary there was one. A floricanto etched into skin, make a discipline out of its rhythms, or a retirement account that soars when the country of our birth goes to war. Some relatives stay lost by design, others get found in a literary movement. The archive paid off my truck note. What if it was all supposed to remain on the page? Instead of hinging a self to a history of othering, a midlife teleology that would forgive me when student loans refused to. It was another start of a school year where bombs dropped elsewhere, and the data machine singes Wipil with an ember of discrepancy. All right, so in that little snafu of my intro, I wanted to say how much it meant to me to read with Sheila. Amazing, Sheila, that was super beautiful, and Bessie, that was incredible. I'm so happy to know your work, and to be in the ethers and space with Wingstone and Urayan. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you, God, for assembling this incredible gathering, and to Poet's House for producing it. I'm going to read just some Gen X diaspora poems, and or one poem, and then I'll read a bit of prose, because that's a very recent Central American piece. This one's called On the Banks of El Sauce, La Unión, 1999. It was a year after the final offensive, and 3 years before the peace accords, 7 years after we first met in the house my parents raised me to hunger for what they left behind. Isaura, you were tiny and mine, singing Candandui, 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 while holding our chihuahua en tus manos de lenca. A smile captured by a disposable camera, boy soldiers captured by Atlacatl. You had made it this far to remember the songs killed in 1932. Cacopera turned campesino. You married a man named Catalino. The war hadn't reached these far corners of our tierra, nuestro rincón, where I was pulled out into the street in front of your house so the neighbors could see chubby Chelita granddaughter in white esprit denim shorts to signal we were doing well in the north. We drove 3 miles per hour through a difficult terrain that reminds me of Arivaca today and tomorrow, atravesando el departamento para llegar al cantón. No one mentioned a war simmering around us. We rolled over sharp rocks, careful to not puncture the tires of our vehicle. Seeing El Rio Sauce, its rocky edges, its pebbled floor, the river, a constant. When you lost 4 babies, when the man who fathered those babies drank his earnings, another hunger punching holes in this memory. When your tears traced a map along your tired veins, and each morning brought you newer mourning, a day and its allotted grief, could we be rebirthed if we lie face down? A baptism in the waters that whipped through a countryside forgotten by its country. This piece it's an excerpt of an essay in process. This piece is called Agador, Spartacus, an Aside. And it features the lead trip to Ciudad de Guatemala in January 2002. It was January 2002, and my parents believed I was traveling to Guatemala City with a friend. My mother would have been horrified. The mere mention of Central America rattles her nerves. But there was no one I could think of to come with me on my mission of queer solidarity. None of the people I considered peers or friends were considering queer Central American socialism the way I was, or were as consumed by it, maybe. My consciousness was fed by revolutionary impulses, histories, and solidarities because my Salvadoran mother was scared of the images of armed guerrilla forces broadcast on the nightly news during my childhood in Southeast Los Angeles in the 1980s. As I got older, I pursued various academic studies of U.S. imperialism in Central America and the political violence it propagated during the latter part of the 20th century. That intense curiosity led me to Guatemala. I made my way down a busy street where peddlers offered imitation Adidas and Teletubbies with food carts peddling chuchitos y chucos. Shops blasted the competing rhythms of El General and Pedro Fernandez. This was a parallel universe to 6th and Alvarado next to MacArthur Park, west of downtown LA, but nothing that surpassed the sights and sounds in Pico Union, the neighborhood I frequented as both an Angelino and an activist consumer of cheap goods sold by those recently arrived from Central America. In LA, we were all navigating the same labyrinthine sprawl of alleys and winding hillside streets in distinct ways. In Guatemala City, the chaos contained in miniature felt fun and quaint. It was a containment I could maybe master as a young lesbian traveling alone through this part of the isthmus. I headed north and then east until I hit the main plaza, where I met my new friend Carlos Romero, who said he would show me his downtown Guatemala. We walked down a main drag exploding with color to Avenue 6, where Carlos mentioned his family sold clothes at their own puesto. He had come of age in their homegrown operation until he had come out of the closet. He then began working at Oasis, the capital city's only public health agency focusing on HIV prevention and education in the capital. We walked through the Plaza de la Constitución, up La Sexta Avenida, and into Zona Dos, its few modern buildings coexisting alongside the historical district's colonial exteriors. Carlos was tall, handsome, gregarious, pura broma, pura risa. But when we walked by the cathedral in the public square, he suddenly went quiet. I followed his solemn gaze to a poster with a scrawl of red text screaming for justicia, and a bas-relief portrait of the late Bishop Juan José Gerardi Conedera with the words Guatemala nunca más, never again Guatemala, arranged next to them in small tiles. After over 160,000 indigenous Mayans were systematically murdered between 1960 and 1996 during the Guatemalan Civil War, Gerardi oversaw the creation of the Project for the Recovery of Historical Memory, which logged 6,500 testimonies of Guatemalans who survived state-sponsored violence, abuse, and atrocities. Gerardi believed that healing the country with truth and transparency was an important first step toward democracy. Gerardi was assassinated on April 26, 1998, 2 years after the end of the war and 2 days after presenting the Recovery of Historical Memory report, Guatemala Nunca Más. His murder was such an unfathomable loss for Guatemalans that the memorial had been erected seemingly overnight near the parish house of San Sebastian Church, where he lived and died. Although I was visiting almost 4 years later, the memorial's presence still cast an arresting shadow. Oh, I said. No se me ocurrió que estaríamos tan cerca. My voice trailed off. Carlos sighed and took a beat. Es muy triste, he said. When I first traveled to Guatemala, I was unaware of how the Central America I was tuned into was represented in the pop culture of that period. Take the character of Agador Spartacus, played by Hank Azaria, in The Birdcage, for instance. The movie debuted 9 months before the Guatemalan Civil War was declared over. Recently, I watched with ambivalent curiosity as Azaria in cutoffs and a crop top did a cannily sexy and exaggerated brown face, his character somehow both pet and servant to Robin Williams' Armand Goldman and Nathan Lane's Albert Goldman, the couple of the movie. The movie was an adaptation of the 1978 film La Queja Foi, directed by Édouard Molinaro, itself based on a 1973 play by Jean Porat. In the American version, the audience witnesses Agador addressing his boss in his introductory scene. Are you afraid of my Guatemalaness? My Guatemalaness? My Latin heat? Are you afraid I'm too primitive to be on your stage with your estrogen rockets? His question is a jab in response to his rejection of being a showgirl in Armand's nightclub act. In a semantic that feels animalizingly timeless, Armin deadpans the threat to call Ice's grandparent INS, a response to the sarcastic undertones of Agador's recalcitrance. But can I help but impose a narrative of exile upon Agador, a gay Guatemalan who leaves a violent homeland in Civil War stasis and still far away from the country's history of atrocities? Agador is decontextualized so pointedly from a chronic U.S. imperial intervention that enjoyed the spoils of the largest exporter of bananas, coffee, and raw sugar. Agador could instead inhabit drag and dance to Miami Sound Machine for cheap laughs at the expense of his heart's desire for escape, even if it's through a survival buffoonery. It is difficult to turn away from this story refracted through the current zeitgeist of ICE deportation violence. A year after my first visit, in 2003, artist Regina Jose Galindo performed her now famous ¿Quién puede borrar las huellas? Who can erase the traces? During her lunch break, she brought out and stepped in a basis of human blood she had procured and walked across the court of constitutionality to the National Palace of Guatemala on the occasion of Efraín Ríos Montt's presidential candidacy. Her bloody footprints, a protest of quiet fury, were a reminder of the generations of Mayan clans decimated in the nearly 4 decades of systematic genocide. I learned about Jose Galindo's work in her interview with Guatemalan American writer Francisco Goldman in Bomb magazine in 2006. Goldman has become my go-to voice for matters concerning the immediate aftermath of the Guatemalan Civil War. In his 2007 book, The Art of Political Murder, he recounts the events leading up to Gerardi's assassination. He reconstructs scenes between Gerardi and his inner circle following the release of the Catholic Church-sanctioned report detailing the atrocities of the Civil War. Goldman's characterization of Gerardi looms large in my mind. Gerardi cracks anxious jokes to his collaborators about not being seen too close together, otherwise the state police surveillance would taint them as huecos, Guatemalan slang for homosexuals, ruining their credibility, their lives, with character assassination. The casual homophobia isn't lost on me. I would feel suspicious if it wasn't present in one way or another. To cope, I try and capture the faces of the boys and girls who became adults as the Civil War ended in Guatemala. Those who survived, who emerged from a police state, who managed to find love in each other in the shadow of a dictatorship, who strived for civil and human rights despite the scorn of their families and community leaders. I think about the ones who lost their families in multiple registers, the ones who stayed and lived a pesar de todo. Thank you, everyone.
Raquel. The birdcage was kind of a staple in my home growing up, so that was a really, really insightful and wonderful prosaic essay. I'm going to introduce our next pair of readers together. They will be reading in translation. I'm incredibly excited. One of them is joining us all the way from Guatemala. I'm very proud to introduce Winston Gonzalez and Urayuan Noel. I'll be reading Winston's bio first. Winston Gonzalez, transdisciplinary writer interested in orality, formal experimentation, cultural studies, and literary editing. He is a member of the collective La Retaguardia, author of texts such as Los Magos del Crepúsculo, 2005, Mis Muñecas Voodoo, Traslaciones, San Juan la Esperanza, No Voodoo Please, ¿Qué haré con mi lugar en el cielo? And the script for Lugar de Consuelo, Place of Solace, with Naufus Ramírez Figueroa, translated by José García Escobar. Urayuan Noel is a National Translation Award finalist and the translator of several collections of poetry, including Nicole Cecilia Delgado's Adjacent Islands, Islas Adyacentes, that was released on Ugly Duckling, Double Cross, La Impresora, and Winston Gonzalez's No Voodoo Please, a large part of what inspired this reading as well. ¿Qué haré con mi lugar en el cielo? Also a poet, performer, and scholar, Noel received a 2026 NISCA support for artist grant for the English translation of Gonzalez's 2015 book Traslaciones, which is forthcoming from Ugly Duckling Press in 2027. Noel lives in the Bronx and teaches at NYU, where he serves as the Director of Graduate Studies of the MFA in Creative Writing in Spanish. Please welcome them both, Winston and Urayoan.
Hola, ¿qué onda? Qué chulo estar aquí por segunda vez. Ahí veo a un montón de gente que son amigos de la primera vez que nos encontramos con Sheila, con Nura, con un montón de gente que veo por acá. Y ahora que venimos otra vez a hacer lugar de consuelo con mi amigo Naufus, gracias al museo y gracias a Poet House por convocarnos aquí con Nura. Y pues nada, vamos a leer unos poemas, unos textos o whatever de traslaciones que va a salir con Ugly Ducky, editado por mi amiga Rebeca.
Déjame que traduzca.
Por favor.
Winston is very glad to be back in New York and to see so many familiar faces. He's here, right, working with Naufus, right, on their project with MoMA. So definitely check that out. And Naufus is here, so you can ask him about that. Also excited to read from Traslaciones, right, which has a whole history. I don't know if you want to talk about that, which will be published next year by Ugly Duckling. And he shouted out the great Rebecca Smith of UDP, right, who was instrumental, right, in getting us organized around this. So, gracias, Rebecca.
Okay, voy a leer varios textos. En presencia de cierto reposo triste, un día sagrado, pregunté a las nubes, nubes, ¿qué debo saber de las cosas divinas, nubes? La nada, el sueño y lo futuro simularon silencio. Nubes, ¿qué debo saber de las cosas divinas, nubes? Y las cortinas de baño a caballo a la puerta del palpitar, solas sin nombre, sin orillas, qué absurdos, qué extraños, nubes, ¿qué debo saber de las cosas sagradas, nubes? Aquellos juegos donde fui feliz, la multitud aglomera por el contraste, vocábulos, 6 pulgadas de arena mortuorea. ¿Qué debo saber, nubes del cielo, que podemos ignorar en paz? Morir a solas en medio del argot sin nombre ni aura y morir al amanecer en las ruinas, morir en edificios y volverse a morir. Este trivial murmullo, agua caliente, llanto y dormir bien asustada. ¿Nubes? ¿Qué debo saber? ¿A que no es así? Cierta certidumbre sale de los libros de esta biblioteca y vislumbra los ojos vencidos del océano y ciertos anuncios obturados en las alturas, ratones astronautas y 2 trasgos visitan el cuarto, Helene, mi hija, yo nunca. Ahora 2 piedras en mi ánimo miran inquietas la paz. ¿Nubes? ¿Qué debo saber de las cosas sagradas y lo divino? Color violeta que suave indica, nada más luminoso que la intemperie tomada con las manos. Cielo así gris y fuerte, estática de Tebe tose toda la mañana. Nubes, ¿qué debo saber de lo divino?
In the presence of a certain sad repose, one sacred day, I asked the clouds what I should know of divine things. The void, the dream, the future, all feigned silence. Shower curtains, hoarse at the door, and palpitation, alone with no name, without shores. How absurd, how strange those games where the crowd happily gathers by way of contrasting words. 6 inches of mortuary sand, What to know of the sky? What can we ignore in peace? To die alone amid the jargon with no name or aura, to die at dawn in ruins, to die in buildings of this trivial murmur, hot water, tears for us to sleep afraid. Bet you it's not like that. A certain certainty arises from the books in this library and peers at the ocean with defeated eyes. Commercials plugged into the heights, mice, astronauts, 2 hobgoblins visit my daughter Helene's room. I never do. Now 2 stones inside my spirit restlessly behold peace. Violet color that softly indicated nothing more luminous than the open sky, grasp in one's hands, sky thus gray and strong, TV static, coughing all morning.
Thank you. Se llama TAHX. Habla la lengua natural de las cosas TAHX, inversamente proporcionada al duelo TAHX, o fade out, fecha del día sobreimprime TAHX. Publicita sus servicios en Madrid, atiende en el 3er piso de un edificio llamado Viento Indomable. Hará oral, griego, sáfico, 100% implicada. No encontrás fiera como Blancanieves TAHX, anunciándose por esta parte clara de Europa. Indomable, para quien busca dominio verá la elástica naturaleza de Texas y le cita en nuevos ministerios con un cuidador paraguayo ahí después de la guerra de Guatemala, ahí su forma de caminar gradas arriba, hordas de noticias y el rastro de su perfume. Tenés las manos manchadas, Maur, en el bolso, Chapina, TAHX. Termina de aparecer montada en un cuchillo, le besa e inmediatamente después despierta a su lado en el velo. Encontrás a Loísa TAHX, deformada por el sol. Las ratas caminan de reverso, de la forma más bien de su movimiento. Retrato de muchacho español granulado con la falda francesa griego profundísimo, se llama TAHX. Este parque central de Loísa, parte del jardín lastrado donde la luz y el mar esquivan la medida. Y venís a ese carácter herido, a esta doctrina americana donde el registro desaparece y empiezan los leones. La Revolución de México, la guerrilla sandinista, Franco muerte, patria que es un periplo por el no de la verdad. Venís a encontrar a TAHX en el Central Park de Loíza. Tu corazón encontró a tu cuerpo, reconoció, se saludó, se presentó a sí mismo y cuelgan 3 dedos de cables subterráneos a medio paseo nocturno por San Juan interior y transmigrada allá arriba. Se llama TAHX.
Her name is TAHX. She speaks the natural tongue of TAHX things, inversely proportionate to morning, off, fade out, day's date, overlays, TAHX. She advertises her services, lives in Madrid, sees clients on the 3rd floor of a building called Viento Indomable, or Indomitable Wind. Will do oral, sapphic, 100% involved, is not found in her wild state like Snow White. TAHX, advertising herself in this pale part of Europe. Indomitable, for anyone who seeks control, will see the elastic nature of Texas. A meeting is arranged for her in Nuevos Ministerios with a Paraguayan car watcher there after the Guatemalan War. There's her shape, walking up the stairs, hordes of news, the trace of her perfume. You have dirty hands, Maur, all over your bag, Chapina. TAHX finally shows up, riding a knife, she kisses you, and immediately after you wake up by her side in the veil. In Loisa, you encounter TAHX, deformed by the sun. The rats walk contrary to the form, or rather to its movement. Grainy portrait of a Spanish boy with a French skirt, profoundly Greek. This central park of Loisa, part of the ballasted garden where the light and the sea dodge the measure. You come to this wounded character, to this American doctrine where the register disappears and the lions begin. The Mexican Revolution, the Sandinista guerrilla, Franco or death, homeland that is a voyage through the no of solitude. You come, you encounter TAHX in the central park of Loisa. Your heart encountered your body, recognized, greeted, introduced itself. 3 fingers dangle from subterranean wires, halfway into a nighttime stroll through an inner and transmigrated San Juan. Upward.
Voy a leer uno un poco largo que se llama... Ay, qué bonito estar leyendo poemas viejos de hace 10 años, ¿no? Sal lloraba por las noches Helen en Heaven. Pescaba sal el sabueso de red de óxido, las pesadillas de los perros. Tan duro este lado de la casa, tan tarde, tan frío de la noche el miedo. ¿De quién? El miedo. Lloraba Helene frente a mis versos escritos al futuro. Y lloraba yo también cuando leía estos versos escritos al futuro. Lloro yo también cuando leía estos versos. Ya viste, ahora por ejemplo, y si me perdiera en la selva la candona, siempre se pierde uno en el descuido, y tomara vuelo y fuera herida, y cayera en tribulación, y perdiera gracia y armonía, y si siempre instalando en un sueño como onda de piedra cae el agua sin que nadie me viera, si siempre el cuerpo yacente a la vuelta de las palabras no y uno y no y miles y no y poemas roncos y niños rebuznantes de furia yacen ahí, responde, y si olvidar la soledad entre comedias y ciudades expandiéndose a espaldas del caos y de tu telenovela en el sofá americano invadida de tristeza extraña, responde, y si olvidar engendra piedras, y si olvidar en los ojos de los niños calles en sí, cigarras de parques, responde, olvidar algo engendra piedras, no manera de apartar sábado para ir al cine y al baile y hágase Dios de y esta posibilidad de los 3 de la tarde cada mes y esta tierra herida que olvidarás y este bosque y esta planicie y esta medida y esta media línea de horizonte y estos cuadernos de señorita en la grama y esta alma de saltamontes rompiéndose como el vidrio de ventanas al patio, responde, que olvidar engendra piedras y antes de nacer al polvo que fuimos, abrió un baúl y sacó primero su caballo de niebla. ¿De quién era su caballo de niebla? Antes de nacer al polvo que fuimos, ¿de quién era su caballo de niebla? 2001, la calle no vista en años fundida a fuego. Plegada a pieles, pregunta qué del paisaje. Sueña, ¿qué sueña? Cae, ¿qué cae? De inexactitud está hecho el aullido y sus huesos abismo de sol y amanecer. De niños había muertos y de hombres había sombras de muertos. De eso que está hecho el olvido y no hemos vivido, nadie ha vivido cuando lejos del Paraná la Remington espera. Chispas de la anécdota y en la penumbra piel nueva dice no hemos vivido, nadie ha vivido. Del mar la tipografía W invisible del museo, este museo lejos del barro, bomberos en la oscuridad casi subterránea esperan el nuevo corpus para cercenar sus palabras y desnudar sus miradas y lagos y lagos de vientos y vientos y llagas de molinos para triturar imprecisas nostalgias, lejos del libro la verdad. dentro del vino la verdad, y en la magnitud del óbito la verdad, y en el tórax la verdad, y en el canon la verdad, y en mí la verdad, en el cementerio estatal de Heaven 2007 la verdad, y en nosotros también está la verdad, escrituras a 400 años luz de la tierra la verdad, y en aviones de lumbre nosotros la verdad. ¿Qué nombre tenía el cuerpo en el universo y quién lo nombraba? 2001 los puentes, la locura amurallada por verdes planicies del futuro, y 1.000.000 de ojos, y un espantapájaros rompe silencio en esto que se desea poema de sangre, incolora niña limpiando, osarios, morgues, bares, desbordes, ebriedad como otra forma de ser, en las salas de parto del hospital Saint Croix, los árboles duermen sobre la ceniza y parecen videojuegos, la miseria de una galaxia se desploman en torno a mis labios profanados, y si morir fuera hacerse viento, escucho algo que ya escuché antes, y si alguien lee, gritar labra poros en la historia, gritar labra poros en la historia, gritar labra poros en la historia, y si hacerse viento fuera a nacer y mirar de lejos islas desangradas, escucho algo que he escuchado antes, y alguien lee que golpearse contra un ómnibus y triturar huesos contra un edificio de 20 pisos es perpetrar la incandescencia, y en días de raíces muñones de milenios dispersos a trasluz material, mataluz, matriz encendida de lanza. ¿Cuál continente para rebalsar el dónde? ¿Cuál continente para rebasar el llanto? ¿Cómo se fecunda para olvidar? Porque olvidar engendra piedras. Sí, es jueves, muchachos, y veo muchachos deshogar fantasmas, autos robados, simulacros, carreteras, pulsaciones de mundo de ruido. La imagen pública del yo multiplicada sobre la densa, inestable neblina del Paso, Texas. Sí. Sí. Sí, la lengua da vida y la lengua da muerte también. La lengua es deidad. ¿De qué más qué había cuando no había nada, ni siquiera lengua? ¿Qué cuando todo esto estaba dicho y los simios eran barcos hundidos en lluvias de certezas? Mi hija mastica la tarde envuelta en polución. Abre los ojos y está al centro de la plaza de los muertos. El sabor de sus huesos viene del vino sagrado en el polvo, y ballenas mecánicas pueblan cielos de una tierra que sin querer y casi gozosa ahora me habita. Mi hija, mi madre, hoy vientre enterrado en las fauces del humo. Yo que sabía vivir fuera del silencio, mis labios, dos trémulas montañas rusas, se muecen ahora en el desorden. Mi hija abre su ventana. A mi hija una ráfaga de violetas le cubre los ojos. Mi hija orina como orina la policía. Mi hija llora como presidente muerto. Mi hija abre de par en par la vergüenza de ser mi hija del viento empolvado mexicano. Y lo mejor, ¿saben qué es lo mejor? Lo mejor del viaje, dice, es la carretera. Camino como entre la vida de un fotón y la vida de un óvulo de 150 miligramos. Y la lluvia del tren es la tregua con el símbolo, todo hecho de una misma cosa. La patria psicótica del server multimillonario, la misma fucking cosa. Era de noche, esta noche, y en esta esquina donde colgaremos un televisor para cualquier ciego que quiera ver la vida, tropiezo como un habla inhabitada mientras me acerco. No hacemos casa de algo que ya no está. Aceptar olvido y aceptar el cáncer, que los demás se vayan y no extrañarles. El perdón es recordar sin dolor. Nada igual a aquellas noches de largas faldas sembradas en el alma de cada espada de luz. algo, algo que me alivie, algo que me cure, algo que me multiplique. Nada igual a los palacios de Europa. Nada igual a los palacios de Europa. Londres, París, Estambul, Ana duele y mi hija sucede. No hacemos casa de algo que...
Winston says this one is long, and he's tripping on reading 10-year-old poems. So, Helene in heaven was crying salt tears at night. The hound would catch salt with a net of rust, the nightmares of dogs, the side of the house so hard, so late, so cold at night, the fear of whom? Fear. Helene was crying, facing my verses written for the future. I was crying too when reading these verses written for the future. I was crying too, like when I was reading these verses. Did you see? Now, for example, and if I lost myself in the Lacandon jungle, is always lost to neglect, took flight, were wounded, fell into tribulation, lost grace, beauty, harmony, always installing a dream, like the wave from a stone that falls into the water and no one can see, always the body that lies on the other side of words. No, one and no, thousands of raspy poems and children oozing fury are lying there. Answer me! To forget the loneliness amid the comedy and cities expanding with their backs to the chaos, and your telenovela and your American sofa overwhelmed by a strange sadness? Answer me! Forgetting gives birth to stones in the eyes of children, streets, in cigars, parks. Answer me! Forgetting gives birth to stones. Way of setting aside Saturday to go to the movies and to the dance and to Gasset and to Debussy. This the possibility of 3 in the afternoon each month. And this the land that you will forget, and forest and plains, midline to the horizon, and a young lady's notebook on the grass, and the soul of a grasshopper breaking, like the glass of a window to the yard. Answer me! Answer me! Answer me! Because forgetting gives birth to stones, and before birth, to the dust that we were. Someone opened the trunk and took out their first horse of fog. Whose was it? Before being born to the dust, what were we? 2001, the street, not seen in years, burned out, on fire, folded in skin, she asks. What about the landscape? A dream, but dreaming of what? A fall, but what is it that's falling? Inaccuracy makes the howl on its bones, an abyss of sun and daybreak. As kids, there were dead bodies, and as grown men, there were dead shadows. That's what oblivion is made of, and we have not lived, no one has lived, when far from the Paraná, the Remington awaits, the spark of anecdote. And in the shadows, the new skin says, we have not lived, no one has lived. Off the sea, the typography, the invisible W, this museum far from the mud, firemen in almost subterranean darkness wait for a new corpus. To slit with words, to strip without looking, windward sides and wound of mills to crush vague nostalgias. Far from the book is the truth. In wine, the truth. In the magnitude of death, the truth. In the thorax, the truth. In the canon, the truth. In me, the truth. In Haven State Cemetery in 2007, the truth. In us, the truth. In scriptures, 400 light years from the earth, the truth. Paper airplanes ablaze, us. What was the body's name in the universe? Who named it? 2001, the bridges, madness walled in by the green flatlands of the future. A million eyes, a scarecrow breaks the silence in this that wishes to be a poem. Is colorless blood a girl cleaning ossuaries, morgues, bars, overflow? Drunkenness as another way of falling. In the delivery rooms of St. Croix Hospital, the trees sleep over ash. They look like video games, the misery of a galaxy. They topple around my lips, defiled. If dying were becoming wind, I hear something that I already heard before. Someone is reading. Yelling carves out pores in history. If becoming wind were being born, to gaze at bled-out islands from afar, I hear something that I already heard before, that someone is reading. To get hit by a bus, to crush one's bones against a 20-story building, to perpetuate incandescence. In the root of days, stump of dispersed millennia, womb of the spear, glowing against the light. Which continent to overflow the where, which continent for tears, how to fertilize, because forgetting gives birth to stones. Yes, it's Friday, and I see girls venting their ghosts, stolen cars in simulated roads, the throbbing of a ruined world, the public image of the self multiplied over the thick and unsettled haze of El Paso, Texas. If the tongue gives life, yes, the tongue gives death as well. The tongue is deity. But what was there when there was nothing? What was there when everything had been said, and the apes were sunken ships under rains of sorrow? My daughter chews on the afternoon covered in pollution. She opens her eyes and she's in the center of the plaza of the dead. The taste of their bones comes from the sacred wine and the dust. Mechanical whales populate the skies of an earth that is accidentally and almost joyously now inhabited by my daughter, my mother, today a womb buried in jaws of smoke, I who knew how to live outside of silence. My lips, two trembling roller coasters swaying over the chaos. My girl opens her window. A gust of seagulls covers my girl's eyes. My girl pisses like a cop. My girl cries like a dead president. She opens wide the shame of being a daughter of the dusty Mexican wind. She says the best part of the trip is the road, the path between the life of a photon and the life of a 150 milligram ovum, the rain, the trains, the truce with the symbol all made of oneself, the psychotic homeland of the multitudinous server. Tonight, the corner is where we'll put up a television set for any blind person who wants to see life. I stumble on some banned speech as I approach. We don't make a home out of something that is no longer. To accept forgetting and accept cancer, for the others to leave, and for us not to miss them. Forgiveness is remembering without pain. Nothing like those nights of long skirts sewed in the soul like a sword of light. Something to soothe me, something to cure me. Nothing like the palaces of Europe, London, Paris, Istanbul. Anna is in pain. My daughter follows. We don't make a home out of something. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for us. I did want to ask, if you're okay, Winston asked me to read something. I'm not Central American, so I can't read. But in the spirit of, decentering a certain Central American canonicity, Winston has agreed to help me with a transcreation. And of course, who did we choose to transcreate? Of course, El Papi Rubén Darío. So let's do this. Let's transcreate some Rubén Darío, foundational poet of the Spanish canon, right? And of course, a Nicaragüense. And of course, I picked El Canto Errante, which gives its title to The Wandering Song, the foundational anthology of Central American writing in the U.S. So I'll ask Winston to read. It's in couplets, really, really corny rhyme couplets, because that's Darío, like the really sumptuous rhyme. So he'll read the original, and I'll read what the voice recognition software that couldn't figure out my Spanglish transcreated. Okay?
Oiga, muchas gracias, Aura, por tantos años de trabajo y a Poet House, ¿no? Por tantos años que me has...
Shout out to all the readers, todos los lectores, ¿verdad? The readers were terrific.
Y a los lectores, Sí, pero gracias.
And God, what an incredible lineup. Okay, so let's get the bro out of the way and cancel him and have some fun. Okay.
El cantor va por todo el mundo sonriente y meditabundo.
El control of upper total mundo. Some real homemade media window.
El cantor va sobre la tierra en blanca paz y en roja guerra.
El contour roster, Busta Rhymes realtor, blanket pass when the rules again.
Sobre el lomo del elefante por la enorme India alucinante.
Subaru, no more than anything. Portland, Oregon, Indian Ocean sound.
En palanquín y en seda fina por el corazón de la China.
Timberland King in Serafina, Ford, el corazón de Latina.
En automóvil en Lutecia, en negra góndola en Venecia.
In automobile and notation, beneath we're going to love Indonesia.
Sobre las pampas y los llanos en los potros americanos.
Silver lace pampas, realistic Jones, Yellowstone Americanos.
Por el río va en la canoa o se le ve sobre la proa.
Put on radio barnacle over. What's the weather? What's the weather for?
De un streamer sobre el vasto mar en un vagón del sleeping car.
Dune steamer Sorrel bust tomorrow. When will they go on the sleeping car?
El dromedario del desierto, el barco vivo le lleva al puerto.
Little dormitorio did the Seattle, Barack Obama, New River Home Puerto.
Sobre el raudo trineo trepa en la blancura de la estepa.
Silverado tornado trailer in Loveland, Colorado, Stephen.
O en el silencio del cristal que ama la aurora boreal.
When we'll see you later, Crystal. Te amo, Laura Maria.
El cantor va de pie por los prados entre siembras y ganados.
Pelican Toro Repair Portland, Centralia, listen, Dorados.
Y entra en su Londres en el tren y en asno a su Jerusalén.
Entrance Salon Dress National Train, you're an asset, Harissa Lane.
Con estafetas y con malas va el cantor por la humanidad.
Cornerstone Theater, Secret Models, Violent Control, Call You Money, Dad.
Encanto vuela con sus alas, armonía y eternidad.
I'm going to welcome weather consoles, our media. You turned it on. Rubén Darío, Winston González, Central American Counterpoetics. Gracias, everybody.
Thank you, Ura and Wingston, for that beautiful, playful, alliterative melasmic reading. That was electrifying. Thank you all for being here tonight as well. And can we get one more round of applause for our lovely readers? I also want to give a shout out to Mike, who's working tech tonight. Everybody give it up for Mike. He had to deal with some tough stuff, but we powered through. We have the space until 9, folks, so please feel free to hang out, mingle. We also do have books for sale at the tables outside, so please feel free to check those out. I hope you have a lovely rest of your nights, and thank you once again for coming to Poets House.
Thank you.